sir.
Well, first start off, great win last week. Really appreciative of all the fans, the alumni, the students that came out to support our guys. Got an unbelievable challenge this week. Appropriate fear for a really good program. Undefeated App State team coming in here. Coach Loggins and his staff have done a phenomenal job just getting the job. You can really see that they hit the ground running, have done a really good job of building a really effective roster, putting in challenging schemes, and playing with the right disposition to be 2-0 at this point. Phenomenal job of being explosive on offense, creating mass disruption on defense. Special teams are coached well, very sound. It's going to be a tremendous challenge. We have a lot of work to do, not only to focus on us improving from week to week, but also being able to go out and prepare for a really challenging opponent. So with that, I open up for questions.
Obviously, different schemes with the new coaching staff, but are there some some guys on the team that you guys recognize that y'all dealt with last season?
They've got some. It's a different culture. When Coach Clark was there, I was really close with Coach Clark. We obviously battled back and forth for 4 years. Even when we weren't in the Sun Belt, we played them. So had a really good relationship with him, and the culture's different. A lot of the players are different, but it's still App State. I mean, that's something that's always been a very sustainable program. They've had a lot of history and tradition there, and a lot of really good players come through there. So you can kind of see some of the players that are still there are very good players. And then some of the new players they brought in, Coach Loggins has done a really good job of kind of implementing his culture. So it's going to be a challenge.
So how do you want to set the tone in the first half? How have you guys been trying to address that over the last couple days?
You got to go out and kind of compete with these guys one play at a time. I don't think you can say, hey, first half we're going to do this or that. They're too good across the board to look any farther than one play at a time. They do a really good job of challenging you on both sides of the ball. So for us, we're going to have to try to go out and win one play at a time, eliminate mistakes. We talk about Southern Miss can't beat Southern Miss, so we have to do a really good job of taking care of the ball. We do a really good job of tackling when we get a chance to tackle. We can't have a bunch of penalties. These guys are too good to kind of go out and say, well, the first half we want to do X, Y, and Z. It's going to be a one-play war, for 60 minutes, and that's the way we kind of look at it.
Coach, they throw the ball a lot. I think he's averaging like 40 passes a game. What is kind of the plan against him? What have you seen from their quarterback on film, and kind of what you expect your defense to do?
Hope the lights go out. No, when you got a quarterback, you got a chance, and they got a good one. He can make all the throws. He's got a really good grasp of the system. So he gets through his progressions. He's not just looking for one receiver. They do a really good job of packaging plays so they look similar. The receivers have all the skills that you want. They can run by you. They can break routes off. They got really good hands. So we're going to have to play really, really sound. I don't think in these games you go in saying, hey, we can take away X, Y, and Z. They're too good across the board. You try to take away the pass. They got a running back that's arguably probably going to be one of the top running backs in this conference, if not the country. So you can't say, well, take away the pass and then you'll get beat with the run, or you take away the run and get beat with the pass. You have to try to balance it, try to keep things in front of you, minimize explosive plays, try to do a good job of playing the ball in the air. I thought we did that last week. We defended, 5 or 6 deep balls without, penalties. We talk a lot about that. We work that a lot in practice. You got to be able to do that. You got to be able to tackle well. They just don't throw it down the field. They throw the intermediate pass. They have the horizontal passing game. So you got to kind of do a really good job of being sound across the board. And then, once the ball gets in the air, you got to try to get the guy on the ground.
Coach, off of that, just some of the film I've watched, obviously he's got arm talent, but he's also been operating from an extremely clean pocket. He's not been touched too much. Can you talk about the process of trying to affect him in some way, make him a little uncomfortable?
Yeah, I think that's a tribute to their O-line. I think that's a tribute to the way they package plays. As the plays look a lot like runs, so you got to kind of play the run and then get off. That's a tribute to him getting the ball out of his hand. So obviously, from a coaching standpoint, We got to try to create pass rush without running past the run. We got to try to create pass rush without voiding areas. He does have the ability to step up, and he's not a Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson, but he could step up and go get a first down. That creates some issues as well. Their O-line does a really good job of understanding where he's going to be in the pocket and leveraging it the right way. You can tell that they have it's schematically advantageous to his skill set. So we do a really good job of trying to get to him. I think the biggest thing is understanding that you got to play cohesion. It can't be one guy trying to, I'm going to go get a sack, because you're going to give up a huge gaping hole for something else. So we got to play with cohesion. We got to do a good job of trying to compress the pocket. And then our DBs are going to have to do a really good job of being sticky, being close to these guys when the ball goes in the air.
Coach, with all the adjustments you guys made in the second half last week, I mean, how do you think that kind of set the tone for this team heading into this week? Now 2 games under their belt, and trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah, well, we're improving, and that's the goal every week. The result comes down to execution, but we're improving, and every week's challenge creates a little bit more. Some of the things that we didn't do well in week 1, we did a little better. We tackled better in week 2 than week 1. I thought we did a better job offensively of playing with rhythm in week 2 than week 1. Obviously, the opponent has a lot to do with that. To me, it's just about improving. It can't be, hey, how do we go out and beat this team? Because if you're focusing on the opponent too much, you're not really focusing on what you do well and doing that really well. The message to the team this week is we got to understand what we do and why it's important that we do it that way. And I think if that's the continual focus, you got a chance to improve every week. What you hope is through your improvement that you have success. Last week was a good picture of that. We're going to build on it moving forward.
Coach, off of that, we spoke execution, you just touched it there. Looking at the film after the second game, maybe execution wasn't where you wanted it to be or as good as the first game. Is there a thought when you're watching that is this something that happened during the week? Is this maybe we brought too much in, or it's just our opponent?
Yeah, it's a combination thing. We always go back on Sundays when we watch the film and we pair positive plays and mistakes with practice clips. And the guys that make mistakes in practice, it shows up in the game. The guys that do it right in practice, it shows up in the game. So we try to get the entire organization to understand the value in preparation. That's a big piece of it. Every minute of the day matters because it's a carryover to Saturdays. Sometimes it's the opponent. I mean, it's just the reality of it is you play good players, there's going to be ups and downs. Like this team we're about to play, App State's a good team, so there's going to be ups and downs. You can do everything right, and they still can make a play. And then we talk about responding, whether that's we just scored a touchdown, how do we respond? Things didn't go as well on that play, how do we respond? But I think it's a combination of things. I think we're starting to understand that. We've had much better practices the last 2.5, 3 weeks. Obviously, once you start to really get an opponent and you get current film, and you're not really kind of guessing what you're going to get, it's a little bit easier to prepare. There's always going to be things that coaches add or adjust, but typically coaches are going to do what they do well. So it gives our guys a little bit more of okay, I'm watching the guy that's going to be there Saturday, not maybe there was a guy there last year. Has he gotten faster, bigger, stronger? So that helps a little bit. I think the routine of how to watch film and how to practice during the season matters. Our scout teams have gotten really good. The way we practice has allowed us to continuously do good work throughout the year. So we're always practicing against speed. We're always practicing against strength. The way we meet during the year is a little bit different than putting up install one and saying, okay, here we go. You're putting up, hey, these are the plays, or this is the plan of attack this week. These are the things we're looking for. So I think it just kind of builds up. That's why I talk more about improvement rather than, hey, let's go win. Obviously, we want to win, but every week you get to rework your routine, and it should get better and better and better. And hopefully over the course of the year, your routine gets better, your preparation gets better, your execution gets better.
Speaking of that routine, is there maybe something a little bit different to have a conference game in week 3, compared to maybe traditionally after the non-conference slate's over? Or?
No, I'm not one of the coaches that, hey, second season or preseason, every game's an opportunity. We talked about it Thursday of last week. Opportunity number 2 will be gone on Saturday night. Done. So if you're a senior, it's over. It's gone. Opportunity number 3 is coming up. We only get 12 of them. So we got to maximize all of them. Conference game, out-of-conference game, home game, away game. This is the one sport where you don't get a plethora of games. This is the one sport you don't really get a preseason or an exhibition or a spring season. So you got to maximize every one. So whether it's conference game, non-conference game, it's opportunity number 3. And every guy in our program, not just the seniors, we don't know. How many times have we seen, a freshman come in and something happened and he's no longer playing football, or he's no longer here, especially in today's world. So this family, I talk about it with them all the time, this family, this is the 3rd opportunity. And they're slowly dwindling away. So we got to maximize all the ones that we get because we don't know. Look all over college football, there's guys who are done for the season for injury. Praying for them to continue to get healthy, and hopefully they've got years left or whatever it is, but their season's over. So hopefully they were able to maximize whatever opportunities they got. And that's what I try to get our guys to focus on. We got to maximize opportunities, conference game, non-conference game, good opponents. There's no bad teams on schedules. Jackson State's probably going to win the SWAC or be very competitive in the SWAC, so they're not a bad team or an exhibition game. It's another opportunity.
Coach, what's your kind of philosophy with Braylon using his legs? Scrambling is one thing, but as far as like making plays where he's going to be the running back.
Try to be efficient. I think week to week it changes. We don't have a, hey, we're going to run him, we're not going to run him. I think each week when you look at ways to attack defenses, obviously there are multiple ways to do it. And if we feel like, hey, the best way is to activate him as a runner, then we do it. If we feel like, hey, there's other ways to be efficient, he's always going to have the threat or the availability to take off running if it's there. I think that's part of his game, what makes him special. We don't ever want to take that away from him, but we don't have hey, we're going to run him this week or we're not going to run him that week. It kind of goes week to week based on the defensive scheme or game plan, if that makes sense.
Coach, to O-line, for the first 2 weeks, you've been able to play some different guys, some different spots, some different combinations later in the game. You at a point now where you feel like I got my 5 best and where to put them and play them?
I think we've got about 7, 7.5. I know we can't put a half a person out there, but I think we've got about 7 guys and probably another 1 or 2 guys who are close that we could play. I don't know about the 5 best because I've only got a 2-game litmus test, and one of those games was a little bit more. I didn't take chemistry, but I do know if you start mixing the wrong stuff, it'll blow up on you. So one of those games was a little more explosive than the other as far as the opponent. But I think we got about 7 guys that we feel good can go play winning football. I think it changes week to week. What are we trying to do to attack the defense? Is that the strength of these guys? I think it changes as the season goes on. O-line is not one of those positions that usually rotates throughout the game. So you're looking at guys, if you're playing 5 or 6 guys, they're playing close to 80 plays a game, plus another 152 snaps in practice on Tuesday, 152 on Wednesday, 160 on Thursday. So it starts to add up. So you got to kind of monitor that, as far as, I guess you call it pitch count on guys to keep them as fresh as possible. We've been able to do that, which is good. But I think we got about 7 guys. We got, 5 of them we feel really good about. The other 2.5 guys, hopefully we'll get to 3 as the season keeps going. We feel like we can rotate in to give a guy a blow, or we can rotate in to help him continue to develop and give us a viable, replacement. The other thing I think it does is creates competition, and that's the biggest thing. You got to go out there and compete. You got to go do your job, and if you don't do your job, there's someone else who will step in and do your job. That's the ultimate motivator in sports is competition. So that helps with the competition, knowing that, hey, I got to go out there and perform really well. All of these kids want to play. Even the guys who were on the scout team, walk-on freshmen, they all want to play. So around here, you play by how you execute. So that helps with the execution or the need to know I have to execute, or there's one or two other guys that can come in here and do the same thing.
Off of that, could you speak to your expectation with this group, what you're pleased with, what you want to see grow and develop as the season goes on?
Yeah, I mean, I tell them every day, man, I love them and I appreciate them, and that's unattached to a result because they show up every day. It's hard to play at Southern Miss. It's hard to play in our organization. You have to love football. It ain't a lot of fun. We don't have ice cream trucks. We don't do all the glitz and glamour, and to each his own. We show up, we go to work, we send them home. And then we bring them back. And we show up, we go to work. We do that over and over and over. Winning is fun. So when people say, well, what do you do for fun? We win. That's the fun. So I tell them every day I love them and I appreciate them because they show up every day with the right mindset. I think over the course of, since we've gotten here, the ultimate buy-in and want to win has been there. And I'm not just talking about on the field. Our academics are through the roof. In this last spring semester, we had the highest GPA in school history. That's a road mark that things are going in the right direction. Our guys are making really good decisions in the community. Our guys are representing this university in the right way. So that means everyone is at least buying into what we're asking them to do. The byproduct of that is continued work, and hopefully you have success. So as the season goes on, I'll be able to evaluate a little bit more. But I love them and I appreciate them because they show up every day. I'm impressed with the way they've continued to work. It's difficult when you don't have success. We had a lot of guys on this team that are working their tail off and maybe haven't played as much as they'd like to, but they show up to work. We don't have locker room lawyers. We don't have the disease of me. So the guys are doing what we're asking them to do. From an improvement standpoint, I want to see the execution go through the roof. I want every play to be blocked perfect, every play to be run perfect. That's always, as a head coach, what you want. But as far as improve, if we just go out and improve every week, it's what I'm asking these guys to do. And there's always going to be things to work on. I think that's the beauty of the game of football. There's always a way you can get better. But as far as what I'm pleased with them showing up. What are we looking for is continued improvement.
What's impressive about Jeffrey Pittman? Just the way he's developed over the first 2 games with his carries and just how he's commanding the offense.
Yeah, he's done a really good job. I think the things that you guys don't see, with the guys is their everyday inquisitiveness to improve. Right? They're coming in, they're watching film, they're asking questions. How can I make this run better? What could I have done here? What's this week's game plan? To me, as long as they have that, us as coaches can meet them halfway. And I think Jeffrey's done a really good job of not only handling the load on the field, a lot of plays, we live in the RPO world, so there's a lot of plays that could go either way. Some of them have gone his way, some of them we've thrown. It's just the reality of what you live in this, in these systems. But he hasn't, been around guys that, hey, I need more carries, or where's the ball? He hadn't been that guy. He's been an unbelievable teammate. He's done an unbelievable job of continuing to improve. He's worked his tail off to get in the best shape of his life. I think he's poised for a really big season. And when I say season, I'm talking the entirety of the season. There's going to be games where we don't run it. There's going to be games where we spit it to the edge, and that's our run game. There's going to be games where we come out in the power I, maybe this week. Yeah. But there's going to be games where the scheme is going to dictate the types of plays and the types of effectiveness that we do. And when you have players that are all bought in, it doesn't matter if you call, I right 32 lead, or you call, 5 wide all go. They're all in for it. And I think those are the type of players we have, and Jeffrey's one of those.
Coach, how do you feel like you are from an injury perspective? Bumps and bruises a little bit in the game last week, and I don't think Kyrie Heath played either.
Yeah, we got this new deal. This is awesome, but we got this new deal in the Sun Belt where we got to put out this injury report. I'm not really sure what it's for, so I can't really speak on injuries now. You probably have to ask FanDuel or ESPN.com betting, because I think that's the only thing it's really worth. But our trainers have to comment on injuries now, so it takes that off our plate. I'm not sure that Coach Loggins is going to be waiting on the Wednesday injury report to make a decision if he wants to kick our tails or not. But Aaron Estes downstairs, 601-388-1500 is his number, so give him a call on the injury front.
Coach, what about special teams? Are you happy with what you're seeing there, and where do you want to get better?
Yeah, we're a little bit big little, right now. Either we do something great and everybody's, using the right fundamentals, the right technique, or, we're one block away because someone's got poor leverage or someone doesn't do a really good job with timing. So that's an area where I want to improve, because I do think that's a little bit of the hidden success in games. Nobody, cheers and claps, when you punt the ball to the 30, but everybody cheers and claps when you punt it inside the 5. Well, if you're standing on the other 30 and you punt it to the 30, that's a pretty good punt. Nobody cheers and claps when, you get a touchback or you kick the ball out the back of the end zone. But everybody boos when they run one to the field 67 yards down the sideline because the contained guy dips inside. So I think it's a little bit of an area where we can improve to be a little bit more consistent. I'm pleased with where we are as far as the effort and the attention and the detail. I think Coach Bolden does a really good job of putting, a good plan together and trying to get our guys in good position. We've got to be a little bit more consistent with our fundamentals and techniques to be a little more effective. Obviously, there's a big part of that has to do with the kickers, the specialists executing. There's some, we probably have had 2, I know for sure, kickoffs out of bounds, but that's free yards you're giving away. We've missed a couple of field goals, that's free yards we're giving away. A couple of times the punt location's not exactly where we want it. Not that those guys are playing bad, but when you talk about the consistency of, those are things that add to it. You look back to last week, we get 2 missed field goals, right? That's 6 points. And Carl Chester doesn't go up and attack the ball on one of the go routes early in the game, which is probably, a touchdown. So you're looking at 7 plus another 6 points. That changes the dynamic at the end of the game. So you're talking, and those are not, hey, we missed a wide open guy. Those are like, everyone saw we missed the field goal. It didn't get blocked. It was missed. Carl made the catch, couldn't secure it to the ground. That's 13 more points. I think everybody writes home, wow, so this is on a roll. We got 13 more points. I'm excited with 38 because as long as you have one more than the opponent, you win. But those are the areas where if we're a little more consistent, it changes the dynamic. We talked to the special teams yesterday, in our fundamental periods, just about, you put up, 6 points, it changes the whole game. It changes the other team's game plan. Now it's, 16 to nothing at the point, at that point. It changes how they have to play. It changes how they manage the clock. It changes what we can call on each side of the ball. So those areas of special teams, all 4 phases, if we get a little more consistent, it'll help the entire cohesion of the team.
Speak a little bit, first 2 weeks, we've shown a little bit of a propensity to get, still to run to the outside and then, maybe contain it and get there, and you got running the alley, didn't get there, field. Kind of speak to that, how y'all address that and your thoughts with that. Yeah,
that's a little bit, the other team's coaching too, what we see on film and how we plan to stop what we see on film. They've made adjustments. If you kind of really go back, it started the second half of Mississippi State, and then Jackson State rolled it out in the first half. So that's coaching. They made some adjustments at the second half of Mississippi State, and obviously now you got that on film. So you kind of, you add a little bit to your repertoire. We don't get memos during the week of what the opponent's going to add. So, but we always have a way to adjust off of it. It really goes down to we can only prepare for what we see on film, and then in game you got to adjust. There's been a couple times where everything is right. We want the ball to go to the edge. We got to get the safety down there a little bit faster. Part of that is he's got a progression with his eyes. And then there's been a couple times where we've actually gotten blocked. They do block you out there too. So there's been a couple times of both. But as coaches, we have to continue to put our guys in better position, so we don't have to, kind of beat a block and get to a responsibility. Our alignment may help us. And then we've got to do a good job making sure we have the right eye progression to get the safety down faster if we're going to use that as the alley player.
Anything else?
Coach, you're very passionate at the end of Saturday's game.
Still
about-
very passionate.
Yeah,
If you are not there Saturday, nothing's changed. If you are not there Saturday, I am barring you from the first half of every game. You have to sit on Eagle Walk, Indian style, and wait until I come out and let you know. We need everybody there. We need everybody there. When I got here, the request was to get back to the top. And I'm telling you, we cannot do it alone. Don't get me wrong, we gotta win. And when you ask people to come, they expect to win, and we expect to win. But we have to get everyone in the stadium. It's not just because it's App State, it's because it's what we do. If we wanna be able to compete with the teams at the top of this country, we have to do it on and off the field. I have the same passion for our guys going to class. I have the same passion for our guys representing in the community the right way. I have the same passion for our guys executing on Saturdays. But this community has an effect on these guys. We all know what the history has been here. We all know what the past has been here. When you come out of that stadium, out of that tunnel, and the stadium is full, it has an effect on these guys. So I get it. I know there's 1,000 things to do, but I do know that we cannot get there alone. So we need everybody there. Tell your wife you can't go to the casino, you cannot go to the wineries, there's no bridal parties, there's no bar mitzvahs. Saturday night, 6 p.m. is USM football family reunion. So every person that believes in the black and gold, every person that believes in this university, whether you like our performance the last couple of weeks or not, you are required to show up and support. And I know you will. I know you will. We've done it the last 2 weeks. I'm anticipating the same crowd this next week. And then whenever the next home game is, it's going to be the same request from Coach Huff. So cancel your plans for Saturdays from here on out when we have home games, because Coach Huff is going to be begging you to come. But no, I really do. We need all the fans. We need all the students. We need all the alumni. We need everybody, because it's not just about winning the football game. It's about making a national statement of who we are. And that starts with people supporting, that starts with playing really well, that starts with these young men representing this community really well. It all goes together. So I look forward to seeing everyone, and thank you to every fan that has already showed up. Thank you to every fan that has already purchased tickets. If you can't come to the game because you have a family emergency, give them to your pets. We'll have a pet section right down here in the corner. We need everyone here. Parrots, lizards, frogs, dogs, cats. If they wear black and gold, they gotta come to the game. So, but I do appreciate the support we've gotten. It matters, it really does. It really does. There's guys like Chris Jones that has run out in that stadium and it not be full. And he's one for sure that has mentioned to me, Coach, it just feels good to be supported again. So hopefully, don't come for me. I ask you to come for me. I ask you to come for these young men, because it matters. So appreciate everybody. We got a lot of work to do. I'm really excited about this week's opportunity. I look forward to seeing everybody on Saturday.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yep.